Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the USBCast. This is episode 8 with Chris, Ryan, and Drew. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
You know, I'm still a little down about that big defeat we took yesterday. You know, it was a rough one, fellas.
Honestly, you get used to it after a while. I mean, this is like our 4th time getting blown out by at least 20 points. We just suck at basketball, plain and simple. So, hey, we got a couple weeks left here to get blown out by 20 points again, and it'll be good to go.
51 points yesterday.
That was our highest scoring game yet. So, yeah.
And Chris really carried the load offensively for us yesterday. He dropped 51, 20, and 4.
Yeah.
More like 8 on 3
if
for 15
if you go on the website, it says that you dropped 51 points.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I think Ryan and I both finished in double digits, though. So that was...
You did?
That was cool.
I thought you only had 8 points, too.
I forgot on the ride home I hit a layup that I forgot I made, so I had 10.
Oh, nice job, man. That's really good for you.
And Ryan had 12. So
Ryan, what was your takeaway from the other team? Do you like them?
they were a bunch of assholes.
There's nothing worse in an intramural basketball league than guys acting like it's life or death, NCAA tournament, and I mean every foul or non-foul call that was just I couldn't take the whining, honestly. I mean, it's intramural basketball, for God's sake.
It was a physical game, but don't play physical on the one end and then whine when we were playing physical on the other end. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? You can bleep that out. But
I 100% agree, Drew. You know, they were really obnoxious. If you could just think of the most obnoxious basketball player to play against, you know, the obnoxious guy that if he blocks you, he runs into you after for no reason, especially because it's intramural basketball. It's bullshit. What are we looking at over here, Ryan?
The box score from yesterday's game.
Oh, I don't want to look at that, man. That was rough. But, you know, you think of the guy that, you know, they're really physical after they get a block and they get up in your face. The guys that scream out loud when they make a layup or something. You know, that's just, it's ridiculous.
we got a couple good shoves in there though, and we tripped the one guy. So yeah, it was a good game. You know, screw those guys. We play them again. We're just gonna beat them up, and we're just gonna move on with our lives. So
and we still got crushed.
We lost. We won the fight though. We might have lost.
We might have lost the battle, but we won the war.
Now we're gonna talk about some NBA basketball. So the trade deadline. What do you guys think of it?
Well, the Pistons took a big L getting basically a bag of saltine crackers for Andre Drummond. And after 3 years of being on the trade market, I loved his reaction, though. You know, I put my heart and soul into Detroit, and I didn't even get a call or was let know that I was getting traded.
You've been in trade rumors for 3 months now. 3 years, like you said.
It's ridiculous.
And he's acting like he's like someone shot his family or something like that. Like, dude, you got traded to Cleveland. Like, just calm down, okay?
Oh,
my God. And he's like, I give my heart and soul to this city. That's your heart and soul is walking back on defense. Yes.
You play it.
Like, that's your heart and soul. Like, if that's all you can give, then you should look in the mirror and really rethink your life. Like, have fun in Cleveland, jerk. Okay?
His best moment in Detroit was when Chauncey Billups ripped him in half in Game 3. You know, after his half-ass effort out there against the Bulls. Yeah, the Bucks last year. You know, that was impressive. You know that. His legacy here is really going to live on.
That's the biggest game he's played in his career, and he's not playing hard at all. And he's like, I gave my heart and soul.
Flat out it.
Screw you, dude.
He can eat a bag.
Have fun in Cleveland.
He did it at 2 3-pointers in his first game there. That's kind of cool, I guess. Even though I hate him. You know, that's a perfect landing spot.
He might be one of the most. I know there's a lot of people that love him here in Detroit, and they were like genuinely sad that he left.
Have you ever watched a Pistons basketball game before?
I think he might be one of the most overrated superstars, quote unquote superstars that we have.
He's
well, people call him a superstar.
No, he's not even a star.
People in Detroit call him a superstar, like, and they're acting like you go to a Pistons game. There's so many people that just love Drummond, and it's. Why?
Well, who else are we going to like on the team?
Blake Griffin gave more heart and soul in his one season than Drummond did in his entire 8 years here in Detroit.
Yeah, so. That was his best. That was his best statistical season. So
I'm not even talking about statistics. Though. I mean, he played on one leg.
Oh, yeah.
He played hard.
He
worked hard, and Drummond just doesn't try. Period.
No, he's just not. He'll never. Cleveland's a perfect landing spot for him because it's one of the only places that I'd rather not be at than Detroit. You know, Cleveland's a shithole of a city in general. No one likes it. You know, hopefully, shout out to our 0 listeners from Cleveland. You know, this is why I can rip them in half. You know, no one likes Cleveland. It's a terrible city. I'd never want to go there in my life. And Drummond, you know, it's a perfect landing spot for him. You know,
I agree.
Shitty city for a shitty basketball
Mistake
player.
by the lake. That's what they call it down there. And why would you go out and get Drummond if you already got Tristan Thompson
and Kevin Love?
Yeah,
and then you don't trade Tristan Thompson. Like, what are you doing, Cavs?
Just gives John Beeline a wealth of resources. To
yeah.
Oh yeah.
If he doesn't get fired in the next few months, because he might get fired.
He may be back with the staff at Michigan. You know.
No, not gonna happen anymore.
After that big Juwan Howard win the other day.
Yeah. So what are the Pistons going to do with all this cap space in the offseason now?
They're going to pay DeMar DeRozan $50 million a year.
Please don't.
I don't
The
know.
free agency class is awful for this year, so just
We're in
save
kind
your
of a
money.
tough spot, man. You know, I think they should just try to wait it out and just play with what we got. Re-sign Christian Wood. That's what we should definitely do. You know, he's a really good player. Other than that, I really think they should kind of maybe make one addition and save up enough room to sign somebody in that really good 2021 class or whatever. Yeah, I think that's going to be they could definitely get somebody like an A- to B+ free agent in that in the following year's class because it's loaded.
Yeah. Stefanski said that he was going to wait and try and maybe trade D Rose in the offseason. They were trying to do more trades like Galloway, Markieff, but they just said that nobody wanted him basically. So
Doesn't surprise me.
hopefully they get like Reggie Jackson's money's off the books. They got a lot of money off the books here.
Thank God.
And they really suck right now. So hopefully that first round pick can be good.
Just keep
And
losing.
maybe the second round pick they got from Cleveland can turn into something.
Oh
Yeah.
future star.
That's very rare.
It's going to be a really rough few years here. So I mean, it doesn't really matter. Even if we don't spend that much money in the free agency, just keep loading up on draft picks.
Build around Sekou and Christian Wood.
Yeah, I think those two. I don't even know if Kennard's what the future holds for us.
No.
I don't think he can ever be anything more than probably like a 6-man to low-end starter. But
I think he's still important to
Seku's
keep
got
him
that-
though. I don't think we should trade him to
definitely.
Phoenix.
At least not yet. Maybe wait a couple years and see what happens. But I think Sekou has the potential to develop into like a poor man's or rich man's Pascal Siakam. I think he could be a really good player.
I don't know, man.
How about a poor man's then?
Poor man's, yeah. He's kind of hit a wall recently. But
Yeah, I know Casey hasn't really liked some of the things he's been doing on the court, but I really think, there's going to be some growing pains. He's one of the younger players.
Only 18.
Yeah.
I think he just
He
turned
might
19.
be the youngest player in the
Yeah.
league. But, so he's got a few years. We're definitely going to have a few years of this test. I think he'll have a chance. I think he really has a chance to develop into something special, but it's going to take some time for sure for us. But, Christian Wood, I think, is already a decent player, and I think he's only going to get better with increased minutes now that Drummond's gone.
Yeah, I agree. Any other Pistons talk? Or
Please,
Not
no.
much to
Okay.
say.
I'm begging you not to.
a few more of the big trades. We talked about the Clint Capella trade last week. That was a big trade. Marcus Morris went to the Clippers for kind of just some random pieces. The Knicks got a first-round pick. They were really stockpiling on those picks. With the other big trade was the D'Angelo Russell for Andrew Wiggins. Not straight up, but that
In a
trade.
first.
Yeah. What do you guys think of that one?
I think D-Loading's really going to work well with Cat. I think
They're really
it's-
good friends.
Yeah, and I think that's getting rid of Andrew Wiggins. It was about time. I wasn't really satisfied with his work ethic and his effort out there at times because he can be the best player on the floor when he wants to be. But I think he needed a change of scenery. It was a good trade.
Yeah, I think it's fair for both teams. I'm really not a big Andrew Wiggins fan at all. I think he doesn't provide any effort on the defensive side of the ball. I think he's a really bad defender. And like Ryan said, I forgot your name for a second there. He really provides inconsistent effort on the court. And I don't know. I think maybe as a fourth option for the Warriors, he could do pretty well. But other than that, I don't think he's gonna really move the needle a lot for the team when they're ready to compete again. And then D-Loading's a beast.
Yeah, we've talked about this trade in theory for the last few weeks, and it finally happened. But I think, like I said before, Andrew Wiggins is just an improved version of Harrison Barnes back on the fun Warriors teams when they won their first championship without Durant. He's looked okay, and I think he could be a nice third or fourth option to Draymond, Clay, and Steph.
Whoa. Draymond's not an offensive option.
Well, just like a third star.
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, he's not a star.
He's not a star.
He's a fine starter, bad defender.
Okay. So he's a
He's a
nice
system
player on
player.
the Warriors.
He's a
Is that
system
okay? Can I
player.
say that?
I think if they don't get a good enough pick to get Wiseman in the draft, I think this team could really play some small ball with Clay, Curry, Wiggins, and Draymond, and then add one more player, whoever you want. Maybe Jordan Poole with his 29%
No,
field
Jordan
goal
Poole's
percentage.
not. Jordan Poole's not going to be in the league in 2
Jordan
years.
Poole is probably my least favorite Michigan player of all time.
I agree, 100%.
He's flat up on a bus.
He's-
this year.
he
He's
made
not
one-
he's not a bust. He
he's
should have been
shooting
taken
under
in the second
30%.
round.
Yeah,
He should have
that's
left.
true, but
And he made one sweet shot in the tournament, and
That
now
was his
everyone
only-
acts,
yeah.
everyone acts like he's the next Steph
he shoots
Curry.
29% from the floor. And
He wasn't even that good
27%
last year
from
for
the-
Michigan.
And then he was calling out the fans for criticizing him.
Because he sucks.
Yeah.
That's why.
Shot selection leaves a lot to be desired.
Anyway,
yeah.
this isn't a Jordan Poole podcast.
Could be.
Glenn Robinson III, have a great year though.
Yeah, he got traded to Philadelphia?
Yeah,
he is having a
nice.
pretty
Good
nice
for him.
season.
Former dunk champ, Glenn Robinson III.
One of the most forgettable dunk contests.
I didn't even watch it. But back on the Warriors small ball lineup, they can kind of just throw another guy in there. I don't know who exactly that will be. Maybe they can draft somebody like
Pascal.
Anthony Edwards.
Pascal's been really. You could put Pascal at the
he hasn't
4.
been bad at all.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Pascal Siakam
Me
for a
too.
second.
No,
I was like,
what?
what?
Eric
Some
Pascal.
news?
Eric
Yeah,
Pascal, yeah.
Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Pascal, Eric Pascal, that is, and Draymond. Who's going to play the 3? Oh, Wiggins, yeah. Yay. I mean, Wiggins.
I think they have a chance to compete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Minnesota, though, I mean, they got a bunch of new guys, but obviously Russell's the biggest one because they made a bunch of trades. They got like Malik Beasley, like we talked about last week.
That was a good trade.
I mean, they're going to be really good offensively, but they're going to be terrible defensively. They're going to be kind of like the Wizards, a really good offensive team, a terrible
D-Loading's
defensive
a terrible
team.
defense. He's just as bad of a defender.
Minnesota, though, they were so hyped to get him. I mean, did you see they had like 3 mixtapes like out as soon as it's like they had them pre-made. Like, okay, this is what we're doing, and they were so like they would have thought they got like Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or someone like that. Like they were losing their minds.
D-Loading
I mean, he's an all-star. He was an all-star last year, but
MJ.
let's calm down.
I sort of feel bad for him. He's been moving around a ton. I think he needs like a permanent home because I would imagine it's pretty hard to get settled in somewhere when you keep getting traded and everything.
What I'm worried about, though, for Minnesota and Russell in particular is that the Warriors were kind of like saying how he wasn't a great he didn't have a good work ethic, wasn't a great person in the locker room. And I'd be kind of concerned about that for Minnesota because Minnesota does not have a good culture and Golden State does. So if he can't work with Golden State, I don't know how well he's going to work in Minnesota.
Well, him and Kat are really good friends, so it could be a nice change of scenery for them. If they can be all buddy together and they can add a couple more pieces, this team could compete for some decent playoff spots, maybe in the bottom half of the league, if they can just add a couple more pieces. But, I think the framework's there for them to be all right with D-Loading and Kat. Maybe they draft a really good defender. Oh, wait, they don't have a first round.
They already got Jared Culver. Remember Jared Culver?
He's a good defender, but he hasn't really proven much on the offense.
No, but he's got a ton of potential.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
if he could ever tap into that, and I think Malik Beasley's a quality starting shooting guard in this league. He's really underrated.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that's pretty much all for the trade talk. But now we're going to stick with the NBA and talk about the All-Star weekend, All-Star Saturday night, and the game on Sunday. Who wants to start with their picks and their predictions?
Ryan, why don't you start off?
So we're going to start in order of when the events occur. So Friday night we got the celebrity game going on, which will hopefully be entertaining. For our MVP picks, I'm going to take Aja Wilson from the WNBA. I just think she's probably going to be the best player on the floor. She plays in the WNBA. She's got to be pretty good. I'm going to go with her for my MVP.
And then I picked the captain himself, Common the rapper. I think I heard him in an interview say he can hoop a little bit, so I went with him.
I went with Quentin Richardson just because he's a former NBA player. I don't really agree because I think him and Darius Miles are in this game. I don't really understand why former players are allowed to play in this game. But he's a former NBA player, and I believe he's in the Big 3 league, so he's still in good shape. I know he still plays. Yeah, he's got a cool podcast. That really doesn't impact his basketball skill, but I think he's going to play well and he's going to win MVP. But obviously, I think it's going to be Quavo too. We just don't want to be basic and pick him.
Yeah, he's in the game every year. He's like a 7-year in a row player or something like that.
He's like an actually good basketball player too.
He
so
can splash him.
He'll probably end up winning it again, but we just didn't want to be like basic.
Yeah, Common's going to win it. He's the team captain.
Okay.
I think he's gonna really show out this year.
All right, and next for the Taco Bell Skills Competition, the participants this year are Bam Adebayo, Patrick Beverly, Spencer Dinwiddie. SGA will replace the injured Derrick Rose. We also got Chris Middleton, Domantas Sabonis, Pascal Siakam, and Jason Tatum. So for my pick, I'm going with SGA. I just think all around he's the best player that will be in the challenge.
I got Jason Tatum because I wanted to be different. He won the competition last year. It was kind of fluky, but I don't know. I think he's going to prove all the doubters wrong and win it back-to-back years, and he's a good player. He's excited because it's his first All-Star game, and he's going to capitalize the weekend with a skills challenge win.
I'm going to go ahead and go with SGA as well. I think he's a rising star in this league, and I think he's just too athletic not to win this event. I think this is going to be the year he wins it. I agree with Ryan.
This competition, though, is kind of boring, not going to lie. I mean, it's just it's a good kind of appetizer to the 3-point challenge and the dunk contest. I mean, it's just kind of I don't know, I watch it, but it's not super exciting. It just kind of happens.
I don't even really watch the skills competition, but SGA, I watch him play basketball, and he's really good at it. So I'm going with him.
Nice.
All right, next for the Mountain Dew 3-point contest, which the participants are Davis Bertans from the Wizards, Devontae Graham from the Is it the Hornets? Charlotte changes their name every year. Joe Harris, reigning champion from the Nets. Got Buddy Hield from the Kings. Zach LaVine from the Bulls. We got Chris's favorite, Damian Lillard from the Trailblazers. Mm-hmm. We got the Michigan grad himself, Duncan Robinson from Miami, and Trae Young from the Hawks. So for my pick, it's going to be a homer pick. I'm going Duncan Robinson, go blue.
I'm also picking Duncan Robinson, go blue.
And go blue. Just kidding. I'm going with also a homer pick. I'm gonna go with Damian Lillard. You know, I can't. That'd be off brand for me not to pick him.
Did you guys know about the new rule though? The Mountain Dew zone, where there's a green ball and they get to shoot it.
You know
what is it worth? 4 points or?
Yeah, it's worth 4.
It's farther away.
Farther away. Yeah.
So that's gonna favor Damian Lillard.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's off a pedestal 6 feet behind the 3-point line.
Ooh.
He'll have no problem with
They're
that.
still the shots are worth 3 points
I feel like Damian Lillard's a better in-game 3-point shooter than he is in a contest like this.
No, honestly, I don't even think he's gonna win, but I picked him anyway because why not?
Yeah,
I think Duncan Robinson's gonna win because Joe Harris won last year, and no one really knew who Joe Harris was until last year. So
I think it will be a spot-up shooter most likely.
That's what I think. Davis Bertans has a really good chance to win this as well.
I think so too. Yeah,
I mean Lillard's he's been in this before too, and he didn't really.
No.
He doesn't really show out usually, but I think he's shooting so well this year. I think he's definitely got a chance at least.
It could be Zach LaVine too.
I hope not.
Home court.
I really hope
he wins the 3-point contest, then goes, "Hey guys, I'm in the dunk contest now," and then he maybe wins that.
That guy already stole a dunk contest from Aaron Gordon, so I hope he doesn't win this 3-point contest.
Hot take. Okay, speaking of the dunk contest, Ryan.
Yeah, so for the AT&T Slam Dunk Contest, this year's participants are Derek Jones Jr. from the Heat. We got Dwight Howard making a reappearance, this time on the Lakers. We got Aaron Gordon from the Magic, who should have won a few years ago. And then newcomer Pat Connaughton from the Bucks.
Why on earth is he in the Slam Dunk Contest? Pat Connaughton?
Have you seen
that guy's got crazy hops, man.
Yeah. Notre Dame's own, right? Didn't he go to Notre Dame?
Where were those hops when he played for the Blazers
a
couple of years ago and didn't do anything?
He didn't get any playing time.
In Portland, because Portland sucks. They're a terrible team, terrible franchise.
They didn't just make the last year.
And then they got swept by the Warriors, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Sorry,
brutal.
It was KD.
Without KD.
No, he was still on the team at then.
All right.
He got hurt in the finals.
So
we got hurt against Houston.
No, he did.
And then he came back for the finals and got hurt right away.
You're right.
Fact check. The Blazers suck. All right.
So back to the dunk contest. I'm going to take Aaron Gordon. I think this is kind of a revenge story. He should have won a few years ago. I think he's already proven he can win on the big stage. I think experience matters in this. So it's either going to come down to Gordon or Derek Jones, and I'm taking Aaron Gordon.
I agree with you, Ryan. I think Aaron Gordon's going to win. I'm most excited to watch Dwight Howard. I don't think he's going to win. He's probably going to be a major disappointment, but he's always got props. He was a lot of fun to watch in the contest back like a decade ago when he was in it with Nate Robinson. So it'd be fun to watch, but yeah, I think Aaron Gordon, he's never won it. He lost to Glenn Robinson and he lost to Zach LaVine. I think this year is finally the year where he gets it done.
And then I'm gonna go with newcomer Derek Jones Jr. Actually, he was in it last year, wasn't he?
2017.
Yeah,
2017.
He was gonna be in it last year, I think, but he got hurt.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I think he's gonna really get it done. I just watched him a couple days ago play, and I saw him have a couple monster dunks. I think he's got a really good chance to win it this year.
Well, yeah, back in 2017, I think he would have won it. He just didn't convert the dunks that he was trying. And, prior to that dunk contest, he'd only played 20 minutes in the NBA. So I think nerves were a little bit of a problem with that.
Yeah.
I think he gets it done. Like I said, I think it's between Gordon and Derek Jones Jr. this year.
I think this could be a very entertaining dunk contest,
I agree.
Man, I hope Pat Connaughton proves me wrong, man. I've never really seen
Watch some of his highlights.
Yeah, he's got sneaky athleticism. Yeah.
All right, I'll watch him.
Well, we didn't write this down either in terms of our bets and our picks, but who do you guys think is going to win the MVP for the All-Star game?
I'm going to go ahead and say LeBron wins it.
Okay, I mean that's a safe pick. I think LeBron's team's going to blow out Giannis's team. We can get into that in a second too, but
I think he's gonna have a really good. I think he's gonna score around 25 to 30 points and have over 10 assists because he's just such a good pass. He's one of the best passers in the NBA. I think that together makes him a really safe pick to win the MVP, and that's what I'm gonna go with.
Honestly, Chris, I'm gonna say Damian Lillard.
Wow, really?
I don't know. He's been really good the last week or so. I think it's gonna be either him or Westbrook. I have a feeling, or even Luka. But I think overall, I'm gonna pick Lillard.
The whole roster.
I'm gonna pick Lillard.
I think it's gonna be any of those guys.
I think he's gonna go off.
You're going with Lillard?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Lillard.
Hey, I respect that always.
Ooh, man. I would pick a reserve, but I'm kind of worried about how much minutes they're going to get.
That's my one concern.
Lillard
That's why I said
Luka.
Luka. That's why I said Luka.
He's like the sixth man. Lillard is. You know, he was the first reserve off the board, and you know, I think everyone's gonna play a lot, and you know, I'd expect him to be. Like,
I mean, there's these wanky rules too, but like, whatever.
Yeah, we're not gonna.
Ooh. All right. Well, I'm gonna go Anthony Davis. I think his ability to get up and down the floor is gonna lead to a lot of easy dunks. LeBron's gonna look to find him. I'm gonna go AD.
He won it before. He scored 52 points in the 2017 All-Star game in New Orleans, and he won the MVP.
That's true.
And then that night they traded for DeMarcus Cousins too, so it was a pretty good night for AD. So.
And then they didn't win anything.
Well, DeMarcus left after a year.
That's
so.
because he got hurt. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Speaking of Team LeBron, Team Giannis, the draft was Thursday night, and I think Giannis might be the worst GM in the league. He might be worse than Stan Van Gundy. Like, he was terrible. Like, what are you doing, dude? What is going on?
Well, like you said, wasn't he trying to make like a team world for his team?
Yeah, but I don't care. Like, you suck, man. Like, what are you doing?
So So these all got the starters were he was stuck with already. But he had to choose the reserves, right?
Well, no. So he picked his starters, and I believe he picked Embiid over Leonard, and then he picked Siakam over Luka. And I don't know, like, what are you doing? Like, I don't care.
I don't get it, but...
Like, even because then he was all upset because he didn't get Luka, so he couldn't be Team World. But then why don't you take Luka over Siakam?
Because I don't think LeBron would have taken Siakam next.
He said LeBron was upset because he didn't get Siakam. But at the same time, I don't know if he actually would have taken him because LeBron's a good actor. So
right,
yeah,
I don't know. I just don't understand. And then he took Bam Adebayo for the first off the reserve board. What?
First off the reserve board?
He was the first reserve taken. Was Bam Adebayo?
Man, if you're gonna go world, take Jokic, man.
I don't know.
Or Sabonis,
what he was doing.
Or Gobert.
I was just lost, and I like Giannis. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA.
He's gonna win the MVP.
Yeah, and it's just like, dude, like I get it. You want to have your friends, and I guess the All-Star team doesn't really matter, but you're just basically giving LeBron. I mean, you look at this roster, and he's got
maybe he's trying to make a challenge for
every
himself.
good team. The rumor was that he just wants to get the ball. He just wants to dominate. He wants to win MVP. So that's why he didn't take. That's why he didn't take Harden because Harden doesn't pass.
Win?
If they win, I mean, good for them. I mean, maybe they're scrappy and they work hard. They got a lot of scrappy guys on this team, but I don't know. You look at a pure talent perspective, it's by far LeBron.
There's a mismatch on every position, then that's besides Giannis in that starting lineup.
And isn't Kawhi going to be on Giannis too?
I don't know.
So
if he is, that's not that big of a mismatch. Kawhi's
but look at the guards. I mean, Kemba Walker couldn't be much more than 6'1", and Trae Young's around that size too. But you got Doncic, who's 6'7", and then James Harden 6'5".
Yeah, LeBron seems he's got the length. I mean, this is just terrible. I mean, I'm sorry, Giannis, but this is the worst. He sucked last year when he drafted. I don't know. I think collectively as a fan base, we need to make sure Giannis doesn't get the most votes next year, so we don't have to watch his garbage again. Like, it's ridiculous.
Watch him just pull out the window, and then you'll sound like an idiot.
I mean,
Giannis gonna win All-Star Game MVP.
If he wins All-Star Game, kudos
if they
to
win
him. Kudos
the
to him.
Game, he will be the MVP for sure.
Yeah.
He's going to dominate. I think he's going to dominate regardless.
Did he take Jimmy Butler too? Yeah, he took Jimmy Butler's probably not even going to play in the game because he never plays in the All-Star game. He always is injured or sick or he doesn't play. So, and he took Chris Middleton too. Oh no, Chris Middleton was the first reserve he took.
Yeah,
I forgot.
right.
And then Bam was the second one. Yeah.
Dame should have been the clear cut one for the reserves.
I mean, again, I get your teammates, but Chris Middleton shouldn't have been an All-Star. You're taking him over Dame.
Yeah. That's a homer pick, man. They're on the same team. That's the only reason.
I don't care. I don't know. Just win the game. Stop this garbage. I mean, it's just awful. Anyway, any other takes on NBA or?
No, I'm ready to move on.
All right. So, speaking of the bets, kind of recap our bets from last week. We did the Michigan State game, and I believe I won. So, Michigan won. I don't remember the score offhand. I think it was 77-68, I think, I want to say. So, we all picked Michigan State to win, but Chris had the smallest deficit. Chris picked Michigan State 70-61, so he won that one.
Congrats, Chris.
Yeah. But then I won Cassius's points because I think he had 20 points, and I put he had 21. I was going to have 21 points. That was the lowest amount, so I got that one. And then Simpson had 8 assists, and I had Simpson having 8 assists. So.
Well, I don't think any of us knew that Isaiah Livers was going to be back for that game. His status was up in the air.
Yeah, and that was right after Michigan's brutal loss to Ohio State too. Yeah. So we were negative on Michigan.
He clearly. I mean, this is Michigan's a completely different team when he's out on the floor. Just the energy they had. You could start right from the jump in that game was just completely different on both ends. And his shooting is so valuable in terms of spacing and stretching the floor. So I think that made the difference.
And they didn't shoot well from the field at all during the game. I think it was something in the 30s, but from the 3-point line, they were right on. That was one of the better, probably the best they've shot since the Maui Invitational.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Cassius' 20 points, but don't let that fool you because he needed 18 shots just to get 20.
He had a really rough game.
And most of those were, garbage time buckets when they were, the game was already in,
And even I think there wasn't that one possession late when they could have still came back and he missed a couple wide open threes.
Yeah, he missed back-to-back threes on the same possession.
Yeah.
And then when he was making passes to open teammates, they couldn't knock down the triple. That was the difference in the game. Is Cassius, he had his worst game against the Wolverines in his career, at least since he's been a full-time starter.
It was pretty funny because last week we were talking about how Cassius
dominant
always
he's
comes
been.
up against Michigan and he's always really good.
He certainly didn't against them. That was one of the worst games he's played.
It was honestly, as a Michigan fan though, I think it was the most fun I've had since the Maui Invitational. Maybe even more fun watching them.
Because it's more fun because it's Michigan State, and I have a deep burning hatred for those guys.
Watching Tom Izzo be sad and cry is probably it's the most joy I get out of it.
I don't know. I don't understand how you want to play for that guy. All the whining he does. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I know I say this every time we bring this guy up, but people act like he's Jesus Christ. He's only got one national championship. Yeah. Mr. March only has one national championship. So
makes the Final Four a lot, but he usually doesn't get it done past that. And they've had some bad upsets the last few years that have kind of tarnished his legacy. I'm still a big Izzo fan, one of my favorite coaches of all time. But enough's enough. We need to get that second championship sooner rather than later.
I think it's time to make a coaching change.
That's not true. We're not getting anybody better than that.
I don't know. I still think Michigan State's going to be a dangerous team in March, especially since watching Rocket Watts come on yesterday. I think if he can continue his emergence, Michigan State's going to go far.
And Tillman didn't play terrible against Michigan either.
No,
so
it was
17 and 12.
Since his really rough game against Wisconsin, he's really stepped up since. I think that was a wake up call for him. Last 3 games, he's been pretty solid all around. He played really well against Illinois last night in the upset win. They almost choked it.
Upset win. I mean, I get Michigan
it was
State's
definitely
not.
An upset.
No, hold on. I get Michigan State's Michigan State's not in the AP anymore, and Illinois is ranked 22nd. But let's be real here. Who's the actual better team? On
Michigan State.
We've usually had pretty good. We've usually done really well against Illinois for the most part. But
Illinois sucks. Everyone's been doing well
against
Illinois until this year.
And their home court advantage,
it's not an upset win though. But Michigan State's a better team than.
All right, then it was one of might have been their best win of the year though.
That's sad.
That or Seton Hall.
Okay.
Seton Hall without Miles Power, right?
No, he was in the game.
He
scored 37 against them. Believe me, I know he was in the game. He wasn't supposed to play. It was a game time decision, but he ended up going off anyway.
It's just been a rough year for Michigan State.
I think they can salvage the year with a nice Elite 8 run, Final Four run. Get back to.
Are they making it that far?
Anything's possible.
Yeah, I think this team. There's no reason why this team shouldn't make it to the Elite 8. If you look at them, Xavier Henry just needs to step up a little bit, and Rocket Watts or Aaron Henry, whatever the heck. There's too many Xaviers on this team. You got Xavier Tillman, Xavier Simpson. Aaron Henry needs to step up.
Same team,
Rocket Watts
these teams.
Oh, these teams.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, Aaron Henry needs to step up. Because he's got the potential to be one of the best players in the Big Ten going forward. In my opinion, even though I'm not I hate Michigan State, but I think with Rocket Watts continuing to step up, I like Michigan State making a deep run.
I think they should never bring in Foster Loyer ever again. I think it should go.
Why would you?
And then when Cassius is out, you put Rocket Watts in at the point.
You just don't take Cassius out.
He's got to sit at some
He plays
point.
The full 40.
That's when he starts playing bad. Is when he plays the whole game.
That's the problem with starting Rocket Watts, though, is because if you start him with Winston, you can't have him come in when Winston comes out.
Honestly, I'm not a Michigan State fan. But that's a cool name. I'm sorry.
Rocket Watts?
Yeah.
He's sweet, dude. I love Rocket Watts. I think he could be almost as good as Cassius, and if he stays there for 4 years, I think he plays the game very differently.
He's a better scorer than Cassius. He doesn't have quite the same handles. He's more of an off guard.
He's not as good of a playmaker, but he's a fantastic off the dribble too. He doesn't need screens to get his own shot.
He can get to the rim at will, and he's a good jump shooter
more physical.
too. So.
I definitely like him for the future. That's why I don't think they're going to fall off a cliff next year. I really think they'll play some scrappy ball. I think they could still be a top 25 team after Cassius leaves, but it's up to Rocket Watts, and Aaron Henry, Xavier Henry.
There's too many Xaviers on both of those teams, man.
This game honestly just made me more excited for March Madness. I was kind of ready.
Yeah, it felt like a March atmosphere.
It did, yeah.
That's for sure. You know, I'm ready for the Big Ten tournament. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah,
The Big Ten
One of my favorite times of the year is the Big Ten.
Big
tournament.
Ten is hands down the best conference in America. This is probably the best the conference has been in, since I can remember. There's so many good teams in the Big Ten.
There's no like really top. They don't have any really elite teams in this conference, but it's just a ton of really solid teams right around the top 25. They're gonna have so many tournament teams. They're bound to have one or two.
And you're gonna have Big Ten teams playing each other in the second and third rounds. That's what's gonna happen.
We need to win a national championship though. Finally, we haven't won a national championship. Big Ten hasn't won a national championship.
Maryland, 2003, I think.
Yeah.
This is definitely the year for
them. They weren't even a Big Ten team when they won it.
No, they were in ACC.
Yeah, this is their time to shine. You know, they're gonna have so many teams in this tournament. They gotta get. I know none of them are really top heavy. It's all a bunch of, like I said, a bunch of really solid teams. But there's probably 6 or 7 of them that could easily make a Final Four run.
Yep.
Including Michigan if they get hot. Could happen, you know.
I really like Maryland, Penn State, Michigan State, and Iowa. I think those are the 4 teams that have a legitimate shot at the Final Four. Iowa because of their offense with Garza, Michigan State just because they're a March team. Penn State's really underrated. If you haven't watched them,
Lars Stevens is awesome.
Yeah, if you haven't had the chance to watch them, take the time out of your day to do so. And Maryland's just good from top to bottom. So.
Michigan State's got a tough test coming up against, I think they got Maryland twice, and Iowa, I believe, is their next 3 after that big win on the road against Illinois. And
big winning.
It's a big win for them, man. They needed it. On a 3-game skid against a ranked team on the road, that's a big win for them. I know you disagreed about the upset. I honestly kind of disagree with myself, too. But that was there's no denying that it was a huge win.
It was a good win, but you guys almost choked it there at the end. And
glad we were able to pull it off, though.
For Illinois, they lost twice yesterday because it looked like Dosunmu really hurt his knee on the last play. So hopefully he's okay.
Prayers out to him. You know, I'm glad he didn't make that last shot, but I'm hoping he's gonna be he's fun to watch. So I'm hoping he's able to come back.
To finish this Michigan State talk, Ryan, do you think Michigan's gonna make the tournament?
I think Michigan's gonna make the tournament as long as they don't lose to somebody they shouldn't, like tonight at Northwestern, knock on wood, or anything like that. I see them losing on the road against Maryland, Ohio State. That's expected. Those are tough environments. But if they win the games at home like they're supposed to against Nebraska, Indiana, Northwestern, this is a tournament team because they have too many Quadrant 1 wins at the beginning of the year. Their non-conference schedule is excellent, so they're a tournament team in my book.
I think they got to. I think they got to win. I think they can win that Ohio State.
That's
game
what I was about to say too. I think they might be able to win the Ohio State game.
With Livers back in the lineup, I think they'll win that game. I know Ryan disagreed with me on that, but I also I think if they need to just make it to the quarterfinals in the Big Ten tournament, and then they'll be locked into at least a 9 seed.
I think they'll also be motivated because of the brutal reffing when they played Ohio State at home too. So they'll be motivated, and I think they might be able to beat them. But Columbus is a tough environment, so.
Let's talk about some big college football news. The resigning of Mark D'Antonio from Michigan State and the hiring of Mel Tucker at the ass crack of dawn yesterday. Drew, I know you're not very passionate about this exactly, but Mel Tucker, he was Colorado's coach last year. You know, they had a 5-7 record, which on paper, doesn't look very impressive. But he just had the 36th ranked recruiting class coming into this year at Colorado. You know, I think he can in a couple years. We got to be really patient with him. But in a couple years, I really think he's got a chance to recruit some really good players, compete with Michigan again. Hopefully, that's the plan for us. But more about his resume. You know, he was Jaguars interim head coach for a year.
Wow.
He spent some time as the defensive coordinator at Georgia under Lane Kiffin. What was that? No, Kirby Smart. It's not Lane Kiffin, I don't think. My bad. Also, he's been at D.C. a couple other places. You know, he worked with Mark at Ohio State, I believe, for a little bit. He was a graduate assistant at Michigan State. That's where his career really started off at. And, I'm kind of excited. We definitely have to be patient with him because, he couldn't recruit anybody this year. So this year's basically a lost cause. They're going to be terrible this year. Next year, they're most likely going to be bad because it's going to be a bunch of freshmen. And hopefully we get some, 4s and 3 stars. I think he got, 5 4 stars last year at Colorado and 15-ish 3 stars, That's not bad. 36th ranked in the country. I mean, that's back to kind of where Michigan State was while they were really good.
I think that hopefully this kind of work. I mean, I obviously don't want it to work because I'm a Michigan fan.
But wouldn't it
Michigan
spice up the rivalry for them to be better?
For Michigan State, if this works, it'll be definitely be better for the Big Ten, better for the rivalry, exactly. But I don't know. Michigan State seems to have some structural problems there. It seems like even though they have an athletic director, it's really Tom Izzo.
They don't have an athletic director.
Exactly.
Bill Beekman is a nobody, dude.
Yes.
He's basically just he could be a car salesman.
He's just a puppet.
In East Lansing for all I care about.
He's
just a puppet, you know.
Even
just play with the strings as much as they want.
Isn't D'Antonio still basically there, even though he's not there?
He's getting a job with the university, working in the athletic department.
Yeah.
He's gonna be irrelevant.
So he's gonna be.
It's a cool $1 million a year gig.
Everything that I've read says that Izzo and D'Antonio have basically been the co-athletic directors for like the last few years.
Since I don't remember their old AD's name, but he was pretty good.
And he left, and
because of
they've
the Nasser scandal, he was forced to resign.
But I just think, and also their board kind of sucks. That's in charge
it's terrible.
So I don't know. Hopefully this works, but at the same time, I feel like maybe I think what I heard listening on the radio coming in today, it said something like, given the circumstances, the hiring is like a B. But if it was just like a normal, like D'Antonio retired as normal, you didn't have the Nasser accusation or the investigations and all that stuff, it'd be like a C hiring. But
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Based on the circumstances, I didn't really know a lot of Mel Tucker. I knew who he was, knew he was Colorado's coach going in. Right when I saw the name, didn't even need to see like the school or whatever. When I saw the tweet, I know of him. I knew he had recruited a decent class this year because I saw something about it being their best class in 10 years. But, other than that, I don't really know. I didn't know his history, and I had to look all that up last night for the pod because I knew we were going to talk about it for a few minutes. But I'd give it, for the circumstances, about a B hire, Our Luke Fickell was the ideal guy. That would have been our A hire.
Yeah, I agree. I think Luke Fickell would have been
for the situation, this is the B hire, though, I would say. But, I agree with exactly what Drew said. If D'Antonio would have been given, like, a proper retirement, because apparently, they were starting a coaching search without him. He wasn't really given a chance. This is kind of why he retired. I don't know if you saw that in an article or anything, but he was kind of he wasn't forced to retire, but he said this was going to be his last year. He planned on coaching was 2020, this upcoming year, and then he was going to help them pick a replacement. It was probably going to be Luke Fickell, in my opinion, because he would get a chance to recruit and stuff. But now he retired. He kind of they started trying to find like a coaching search, kind of like after the season, and he was like, I'm done with this. I'm just gonna be done.
I think Luke Fickell wasn't gonna take the Michigan State job though, because in my opinion, and I've heard this in articles or heard it on the radio, read it in articles, is that Ryan Day for Ohio State, he's probably gonna get. Ohio State's going to be really good again this year. He'll probably get some NFL consideration. He'll probably take an NFL job, and then Luke Fickell will just go right back to Ohio State and become the head coach there. And you can't become I guess you can, but it doesn't look great if you're the Michigan State coach and then you go right to Ohio State. So he's probably just waiting for that Ohio State job.
I agree with that, but I still think him and Mark were so close that because they were like really good friends before that. So I think there was a definite chance that he went to Michigan State next year. I wasn't expecting it this year after. It may be right after the season if Mark would have announced that he was stepping down and he would have had a chance to recruit and stuff. He might have thought about it more. But I think Luke was smart to stay in Cincinnati. And Mel Tucker, I'm going to give him a real chance. I'm going to give him 3 years before I even really judge him. I want to give him what I want to see from him is an improved recruiting rookie class, I guess, like his first year. And then the next year I want it to be even better and then better. You know what I mean? I want him to get better recruits. And start off better? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So that's what I'm expecting from him. Other than that, I don't care about wins or losses.
I think it was time for D'Antonio to leave, though, in my opinion. Because, he kind of just kept, reshuffling deck chairs. Like, he was just kind of moving coaches around. They had the same coaches, and it was time for a change. Because Michigan State's really sucked the last few years, so.
Yeah, I agree. This, hopefully this is kind of the start to... I feel like right as he resigned was kind of the rock bottom point, and I'm hoping that the hiring of Mel Tucker is the start of them going back in the right direction for how good Michigan State's program was, because they were just as good of a brand as Michigan, 6 years ago?
If that, they made the college football playoff not too long ago.
Exactly.
They won the Big Ten championship
game. That feels like such a long time ago.
Yeah, it really wasn't that long ago. So.
It really wasn't. I know. As a diehard Michigan State football fan, I'm really ready for. I'm willing to give him a few more years because we've been really treading on mediocrity to awfulness the last few years, and if it takes a few more really bad seasons for them to turn it around, I'm willing to wait.
Yeah. Any more takes on that, or?
No, not really. I just expect some coaching changes in the near future. I'm just glad. I'm glad we're not playing Trussell ball again as our head coach next year. You know, that's just a waste of another season.
Good thoughts there. You know, I don't want Michigan State to be good, but like you said,
it's better
for the rivalry.
For you guys.
It's better for the conference.
You know, in a couple years, it could be back to the. It is really fun when Michigan and Michigan State are both.
Yeah, because it rarely happens when we're both good. I mean, it happened there for a few years, and we were on the up and up, and you guys were still kind of pretty good. But
right, I know that the trouble with the snap. I'm not gonna really talk crap about it right now. It's one of my favorite sports moments of all time.
The punt snap.
Yeah,
I was at that game. I hated
obviously, you hated it, but that was probably the pinnacle of Michigan State, Michigan.
Because they both were
good.
They
were both fantastic teams. Yeah. And I know it didn't end how you wanted it to. It ended exactly how I wanted it to.
It was pretty crazy.
But
I thought it was really funny when you guys were idiots and jumped on the guy who recovered the ball and broke his leg, right? And you break his leg or something like that because of the pile.
Collarbone or something.
Yeah, he broke something. But hopefully they're good because it's better for the rivalry.
Yeah, I agree.
So the second to last thing we're going to talk about, though, is the MLB, the new playoff format, the proposed new playoff format. That was proposed by Rob Manfred. It's pretty out there. And Chris, I know you have some hot opinions on this. What did you think about it?
Oh, man. Where do I even start? You know, I don't get what it starts off by, why would we expand the MLB playoffs from 5 teams to 7 teams? You know, I know a lot of people don't like that there's a lot of tanking in baseball, and that's kind of the defense of the argument. I think even Drew is probably on that side, you know. He wants the tanking to stop or at least be at a limit, but I think baseball is such a team-oriented sport. It should be only the elite teams get in. You know, this is not unlike basketball where a player like Giannis or LeBron can get in, or a guy like Patrick Mahomes can. I know the Chiefs are really good this year, but he could just carry them to a playoff spot. This is a much more team-oriented sport, and you have to be solid top down, and your pitching also has to be really good. So I don't see the point of adding more teams to that and lessening the chances for worse games come World Series time, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of confusing. I think we should probably kind of explain briefly what the new proposed format is. So basically, if I'm incorrect, just cut me off. Yeah. So there's the 2 best teams in each league. They get a bye for the first round, right? And then they get to pick what teams they play.
That's so dumb.
But then there's also there's some wild card teams that are thrown in there, and
honestly, that's how I describe it.
They're adding more wild card teams in. I don't know. It was kind of confusing. It seems like it hasn't come out as official yet, so no one really knows exactly what it is. But Manfred is the one that I guess is the head person in charge. I mean, he's the commissioner of baseball, so he's the head person in charge of this, and it's just very confusing. And like you said, I am in favor of not adding a ton of more teams. I don't want it to be like the NBA where there's over half the league is getting in to the playoffs and you kind of hand out participation trophies, and it's not it doesn't mean as much to make it to the playoffs. You can be the Pistons suck and they're 5 games out of the playoffs right now. You can't do that in baseball. But I would encourage adding at least a couple more teams into the playoff field just because to limit the tanking. I mean, last year the discrepancy between the top American League teams and the rest of the American League was disgusting. I mean, it was terrible, and it really it's a long season, and the Tigers were out of the playoffs by May. So I think adding more teams would give those teams more incentive to play more because, like you said, it's a team sport. The Nationals were in the wild card game last year, and they went to the World Series and won the championship. So you never know what happens. You'll have more teams that are really willing to take a risk, even if they're maybe not as good as the Yankees, but they believe, hey, let's just get into the playoffs and try and win a game. And I feel like that, not this format, but adding more teams could potentially do that.
I think you have some. I definitely think you have some interesting points there, Drew. Kind of on the. On that line, they're kind of removing the wild card game exactly. They're making it a 3-game series. I don't really like that either.
I
love the drama of the wild card series, and it's still these are really close division winner, really close to division winners, rather than just 500 teams. These are usually teams that have won 90 games and are just as good as these other teams.
Yeah,
the Nationals.
The wild card game, and last year, I mean I don't even remember. The Rays-A's AL wildcard game was pretty crappy. That one was.
Yeah, that one was.
It took me a second to even remember who was in it.
But the Brewers-Nats
one was awesome.
A lot of drama.
And in years past, the wildcard game has created a lot of good drama, a lot of good games, and if you take the drama of the one game elimination away from the game, I feel like you're definitely losing something.
I feel like the wild card game, it just becomes less exciting for me. Or the wild cards, it would be a series now. It becomes a lot less exciting for me. And this would also expand the MLB more into football season, and I'd be very worried about that, because they're adding extra games and stuff, adding more teams. This is most likely adding about a week or two to the season. That just cuts more. I start getting more sick of baseball as football season goes along.
They could potentially, because this has been talks, not regarding the playoffs, but just cutting the amount of games down, which, because of revenue reasons, they might not do that. But 162 games is a lot of freaking games.
They'd have to start the season
earlier.
And
speaking as a Tigers fan, and I know fans of other divisions would say the same thing, is I don't need to see them play the White Sox, Indians, and Royals and Twins 1,000 times a year. Like, we can cut off some of those series. Maybe go back. I know a while ago they had a 154-game season back in the 60s before they expanded the league. Go back to something like that. So then you're not leaning into football season, and you can start the playoffs like the last week of September rather than the first week of October.
That's definitely an interesting point there. I don't know. I like the idea of less teams tanking, but I also I'm worried about some of these mediocre teams just getting in because they're 500 record or a little bit above, and then surprising one of these really good teams, and that makes for a worse World Series or something like that.
Yeah,
a very bad team makes a run in their own conference, conference playoffs, and then they get to the World Series and they get blown out in a 4-game sweep to a really good team or something like that.
Yeah, it's really tough because, like I said before, I really don't want it to turn into, because I like the MLB and how it's hard to make the playoffs, and it really rewards. You can't just be pretty good to make the playoffs. I mean, in 2018, the Rays won 90 games and missed out in the playoffs. But at the same time, I also hate how many teams tank. I mean, last year it was ridiculous. Nationally, it was a little bit better.
National League was very.
American League, though, you knew who was making the playoffs by like June or July, and that just kind of it made August and September games pointless, pretty much. I mean, they were like reseeding and restructuring who's going to win the AL East. Is it going to be the Yankees or the Rays? All that stuff, but I don't know. It just wasn't. It wasn't entertaining because so many teams were tanking. I feel like adding one or two more teams. I don't know how you would do that, but would just make for a better product.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a hard line. I definitely think that is probably the least thing that I am against. This is the adding of the teams. I really don't like the rule about them picking their own opponents.
Yeah, that's
the point of a playoff.
I mean, it adds drama, and I get that, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, I would watch it, but I'd watch it because I feel like I have to. I wouldn't be watching it because like I want to. Like
I feel like it just kind of takes the enjoyment out of the game,
Yeah, and it's part of what's hard about the playoffs is you play who you are like. You play who you're up against. You don't get to pick. You can't base it on matchups. I mean, that's what made the Nationals-Dodgers series so great, was because the Dodgers were a really good team, but the Nationals just stacked up really well against them. And you won't get moments like that
as much
if you're picking. Yeah, if you're picking. So
I agree with that, and I don't really think any team deserves an actual bye in the playoffs either. I don't know. Besides for
the wild card game, you mean?
Well, if there's only one wild card game, that makes more sense because it's not really a bye. That's more like a play-in game.
Yeah.
But when you add a couple, 3-game series each to each conference, I don't like that.
It's just confusing too. Like, I get the NBA screwing around with the All-Star game. Let's be honest, the All-Star game doesn't really matter. That's okay. But this is like the playoffs. This is the championship. This actually means something. And screwing around with that, like, I'm okay adding more teams, but like doing these drastic changes, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So.
No, I also don't understand it either. And I don't know if you saw a thing about the Trevor Bauer statements, but
oh yeah, I saw that.
Dude,
that's actually how I found out about the changes. I saw he said something about on Twitter.
I saw something a little bit before that, but I saw that right after. I know Trevor Bauer isn't liked by everyone. I think he's a very interesting guy.
I read an article about him last summer in Sports Illustrated, and like some of the stuff he does, it's insane. Like we could do like an hour podcast just on Trevor Bauer. Like he
said something about
nuts.
him not like when he gets like a significant other, like they can't even have like feelings for each other or something like that. He has like some really weird like stipulations about dating and like, things that he does, and I don't know. He like
straight up tells them like, oh, I know what he said. he said something like, he tells his partner, hey, just so you know, I'm going to still be sleeping with other people.
Right. It's stuff
and
like
they're
that.
like, what? He's
it's
a very blunt, and honestly, I mean, I can kind of respect that. Like, at least you're
He's a
open
very
and
honest person. Like,
I
there's
don't
no BS with him.
Yeah, morally speaking, I don't know if that's great, but there's still people that are into stuff.
Yeah,
like
there
that,
is a
but
lot of people that are.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them.
Yeah. But yeah, he's an interesting guy.
I
Anyway,
don't
back to the
hate
comments.
Trevor Bauer as much as like other people do. I think he does provide a lot of insight. He's one of the more active speakers against the higher ups in the league.
The big problem with MLB though is partially the marketing, is they don't market their stars, and also the lack of big personalities in the MLB. And Bauer's one of those good personalities. And he's also a good player, so it helps out.
Yeah, he's a really good.
And his warm up routine, man, it's like I honestly I want to go to one of his games just to watch the warm up routine, because I just it's nuts, like it's crazy.
Yeah, he's awesome too. He makes for good TV, that's for sure. You know, he's an explosive personality. You know, he can chuck the ball 400 feet over the fence. You remember that last year?
Yes, that was
awesome.
Funny. That was his last game as an Indian, wasn't it? He got traded right after that.
Right after that, you know.
The Reds are going to be good. I'm looking forward for our MLB preview, because the Reds are going to be a good team, and I'm looking forward to talking about that. But
yeah, we're just going to be talking about them for a full
okay,
hour.
I don't know about that. But maybe a few like 6 minutes on Reds, but I don't know, a full 60 minutes on Reds.
That's for sure.
The last thing that I want to talk about the MLB is our proposed playoff format that we came up with yesterday was adding 2 more teams. So 1 team to the American League, 1 team to the National League. So you have 32, and then you make a 16. So it's basically like March Madness. So every team makes the playoffs. So what you'd have 8 matchups in the first round, 1 game elimination. So, like, for example, this year, the Astros would have played the Tigers in the first round. In the second round, then you have another game, 1 game elimination. And then the next round is just like the divisional series where there's 4 teams, ALDS, 5-game series. And then you have the ALCS, 7-game series, and then the World Series. So, I don't know. It's pretty crazy, but again, I think it'd make for a lot of good entertainment. So
it'd be fun.
Maybe I'll write Rob Manfred an email and tell him, hey, this is what we need to do.
He'll probably just throw it in the spam file.
Most likely, yeah.
We'll sign a letter.
I'll go on what's the petition website?
Change.org.
Yeah, I'll go on change.org and make a petition and get people to sign it. But that's pretty much it. Do you have anything else, Chris, for today's episode? Or
no, I think that'll do it for me too. I don't really have anything to add. Hopefully they fix some problems with the MLB playoff system.
I mean, we'll kind of go more into it for our preview, like I said. But yeah, they just got to do a better job marketing, and they got to figure out this playoff structure too, which I thought it was okay, but I guess it wasn't. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening.
I'm sure we'll be back with news of another loss next week in IM basketball.
Yeah, for sure. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at TheUSBCast, subscribe to us on YouTube, and have a great week.
Peace.